Okay, hi everyone. I'm Smithy Cube, and now this is going to be game 15 of the annotated game section. We're looking at Bier versus Salomon Rocardo-Rocamora. This was played 1876. Wow, very good year. And we're going to be looking at a fantastic gambit. This scores extraordinarily well in online chess. It's where we're going to play d4, then we play c3, then nope, you can keep taking pawns black. As you can see what happened, White has given up two pawns. What does he have for an exchange? He has two bishops on two beautiful diagonals. The queen can slide up here or here, reinforcing either of them. Lots of open lines, so we can put the rook somewhere. Black doesn't have a center pawn right now, so black has to always be careful about knight f6, running into e5, and it's really easy for black to go wrong here. Of course, at the same time, it's two pawns. So I can be a little bit dogmatic at times where I'm saying time is everything. Time really is everything. But material is still material. So you can't just give up. You have to be careful. You have to be concrete. At this point, white can't just be willy-nilly and play, maybe knight f3, h3, maybe a3, right? No. You're down time. You got to be able to use that time. Black plays knight f6. White keeps developing. Black develops. White develops. Black develops. And so both sides are doing just about everything they need to. White plays queen goes to c2. Again, with the bishop here, the knight is pinned, and so the pawn was hanging. So white is defending it with the queen. Makes sense. He could think about pushing e5. But if he does that, see how it blocks the bishop? He wants to make sure he times e5 at the most opportune moment. Black ends up playing d6, and now white castles, queenside, which is a little bit outrageous. Certainly, simply castling this way is fine, and the game would go on. Anyway, white castles this way, uh, full, caveman recklessness here going on. Again, it doesn't. I'm not going to say this doesn't make sense. Look, the rook is now eyeing up the queen. It's great. The thing is, there's absolutely no pawns here, and so the white king could be in danger himself. Black now makes the first inaccuracy, where he just takes the knight. An unprovoked exchange for no reason is rarely a good thing, unless you have a concrete strategic idea to follow up. Like for example, if you're going to take the knight and then you have an immediate reason why, sure, do it. But by just taking the knight, what you have done is basically traded your one developing piece, your bishop, and now this bishop is completely unopposed, right? It's an absolute monster. Um, you can't trade your bishop for that bishop because you don't have a bishop, black. So you have to be extraordinarily careful. Spoiler alert, this bishop may or may not decide the game. Black castles. Okay. So now, e5. Sorry, backing up. At this point, we're developed. We've got all of our development in the world. We can't develop more, essentially. We also have as much control of the center as we can get. Our king, I guess, really isn't safe, but at least we've castled. So the opening tasks are over. So now, it's not developing our pieces, we want to use our pieces. Well, e5 makes a lot of sense, especially because the rook is eyeing the queen. We're going to open up more lines, open up the center, and then again, see how all of our pieces are aimed this general area? Even the queen. Before, the queen was defending e4, but by pushing the pawn, the queen is now staring all the way down. And so we're going to try and use that to combine threats. So again, in the middle game, after we've developed our pieces, we want to use them. We want to find something to attack. Black ends up retreating the knight all the way back to e8, and then h4. What's the idea of h4? Well, we'd love to play knight goes to g5, threaten mate, but we just lose the piece. That doesn't work. Whoops. So we play h4 to prepare knight goes to g5. And again, we don't have to worry about the center, right? This pawn is pinned. Everything is fine. Let black worry about that. He ends up playing queen goes to e7. All right, in for a penny. Let's keep going. We bring the next piece in the attack. We use our pieces. What does black do? He's got to find a way to stop this checkmate on h7. Knight takes h7 is a really interesting idea here. The one issue is that g6 is preparing bishop f5 to hit the queen, and so it's messy. Even the computer isn't sure what to make of it. So instead, white ends up playing e takes d6 because now the e file is completely open. And then black plays knight takes d6. And you know what's funny? This is actually the losing move. Uh, for better or for worse, black needed to play c takes d6. Now you might be thinking, but hold on, isn't this like his pawn structure is worse? It keeps his knight crappy. And you're right, there's a lot of reasons to not like this move, but it's the only move. By playing knight goes to d6, well, you're going to see the game is now over. And the reason for that is, again, remember in the opening, black took a whole bunch of pawns instead of developing. If you do that, sometimes you got to play ugly moves to justify it. What does white do? He brings the rook all the way over e1, full complete development, crushed in the center. He's forcing the queen all the way back. And then there's a super amazing, incredible move here. Queen goes to b2. So the idea is, again, we've coerced g6, so backing up. I should have highlighted this earlier. Sorry. We played knight g5 or threatening mate. Really the only move, g6. And now this diagonal is absolutely crushing, right? It's completely weak. And remember, black doesn't have a dark squared bishop. So this is the other reason black ends up playing, white plays e takes d6. So that way now this bishop is fully alive. And now we can also appreciate why c takes d6 is going to be better. Because this pawn helps reinforce e5, and so black is more likely to be able to put a piece there. Now, sure, white can kick it away, but at least the pawn is helping in this regard, whereas taking with the knight does nothing. Anyway, sorry. Check, boom, bang. And so what's happening here is now the queen and the bishop are eyeing up. Now, in a perfect world, they'd be reversed. So you can just imagine, the queen. Can I pick? Let me just if we could have like the queen anywhere here, because then that'd be checkmate. But we still have an idea. Our threat now is to bring the bishop all the way down here to h8, and once the bishop is there, for the queen to follow up with checkmate. The move that black would want to do to stop this is f6. But you can't play f6 because of the pin. See how those bishops are just lacing right through the position? But this move looks like a mistake, does it not? Because doesn't black simply have knight takes c4? Sure, his queen is hanging, but so is yours. And if the queens are exchanged, then it's black can't get checkmated, right? Right? Rook takes d8. Queen trade. Take, take. And now, notice, bishop, queen. So the king can't escape this way, and the king can't escape this way. Knight takes h7 check. He comes over. Rook slides in. Oh, and it's checkmate, all because of the unopposed light square bishop. Wow. So you don't actually even need queens to finish off a game with a checkmating attack. That's what Black overlooked when he started this whole operation, is that the huge lead in time, and in particular this unopposed bishop, were still able to finish the game. It's probably this move, knight h7. That's the hard part, giving up another piece. But then, as they say, checkmate ends the game. So what happened here? I think this game is an excellent example of the overall philosophy that I'm trying to share in the course, how I want you to think. Okay, sure, so white gave a bunch of pawns. You don't necessarily need to do that, but sure is good fun, especially when you have a game like this. But the idea is we want to develop. Notice how develop. Okay, yeah, it's moving the queen, but it's not moving the queen out early. Every other piece is developed. Okay, we castle. Maybe that's not the right side, but certainly it's the right thing to do. All right, we're here. Now what? All of our pieces are developed, so now we've got to use them. Let's start the attack. E5. We're opening lines. Okay, now we got checkmate. We would love to be able to play knight g5 to threaten checkmate. We have to prepare it. Now we can do it. Take, take. Look at this. Fully developed. Every piece is there. We're dominating the center. And again, the focus, how can we use our pieces? And it's this bishop which is the star of the show. Why? because black traded his bishop earlier on, which means these dark squares, this dark diagonal, it's absolute prime real estate. If we can use that, um, good things will happen, as we see here. And then even exchanging queens wasn't enough. Um, the bishop and the active pieces leading time still led to a victory. It's funny, right? Because white only has two active pieces, but really only so does black, right? Bishop and the rook, they're still sleeping. And it's white's leading time, white's leading activity, which caught won him the game. So I hope you enjoyed that. Again, I'm hoping the ideas are sinking in. The more games like this you see and you internalize, the more you'll play like this, or at least in general, in spirit. So that's all for now. We got about 9 games left. So Smithy Q, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.